Welcome to Tech Webcast, Australia's leading technology show. Download our iPhone app, www.techwebcast.info. Welcome to episode 142 of the Tech Webcast podcast, recorded on Saturday, the 23rd of July, 2011. Tech Webcast is recorded live every Saturday and rebroadcast on the Aussie Tech Heads on Thursday nights at 7. Today's hosts are Brad, Jason, Aaron and Tim. Our special guest is Carlos Icaza from Ansca Mobile, creators of the Corona SDK. The Corona SDK allows developers to create applications for the iPhone, iPad and Android platforms with ease. How are you doing, Brad?
Hey, Jason. How are you, mate?
Hey, not too bad. Still cold and rainy up here. How's it doing down there?
Sun's out, mate, which is pretty sick.
Sun's out. That's
pretty cool.
nice.
Pretty cool, yeah. Yeah. Quick shout out to Podomatic. You guys rock. Thanks for looking after us. And
Yeah.
recommend that site to anyone who wants to put a podcast on there.
We're moving on up too, aren't we?
I think so.
We end up getting featured and all sorts of things.
Yeah, we get featured and that sort of thing. We've got a banner on there now, and we got number 3, and actually number 2 last time. And keep leaving comments on iTunes what you want to, what we need to do better, and and what you want to hear and talk about and topics and stuff. So
Cool.
Aaron, we got Aaron from Odds Tech News. Hey, Aaron.
Hey, fellas.
What's up,
Welcome
mate?
to the show.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, it's up.
And also we got Tim from the Oakley Tech website.
How you going?
Hey, mate, how are you?
Thanks for having me back.
All good, buddy.
All good.
Let's talk to Tim first about his new channel. What's up with that, mate?
Oh, well, I've decided to start yet another new channel this week to better serve the YouTube audiences. Basically, Ozgui Show started off as mainly being a Linux operating system reviews and tutorials and screencasts channel. And then I wanted to branch out and do games, and I wanted to branch out and do unboxing just of eBay gadgets and things like that, and TVs and all kinds of stuff. And so I got a lot of resistance on the Ozgui Show from fans, when I was branching out. So I decided that from now on I will, have them on different channels, because YouTube allows partners to sort of have sister channels to better serve their audiences.
Yeah.
And they get approved for partnership within 24 hours, which is really cool.
Wicked.
So I decided to do another one of those, because I'd uploaded a couple of gadget unboxings to the Ozgui Show, and people didn't like them. They were like, "Oh, these videos are lame. Why'd you bother, doing a USB light?" And I'm like, "Well, I bought it and I wanted to share it, So basically the new channel's going to be hardware and stuff.
Right.
But
Hey, is this
still
correct
keeping
to
the other
say?
stuff open. So,
is this correct to say, Tim, that you're going to be branching into a network of Ozgui names?
Network names?
Yeah, like a name.
Yeah, it's just so all the gamers can subscribe to Aussie Games, and the people who just like technology and electronics can go to Aussie Tech, and people who like me personally can also subscribe to Aussie Tim, the blog channel.
Nice.
And people who just want Linux can just be subscribed to Ozgui Show.
Wicked, dude.
People who just want those kind of things. So they're different audiences, and it's hard to mix them together because they don't even always get along.
Okay, and what's coming up on the new channel? Have you got anything planned for the new videos or anything like that? Or?
Oh yeah, I've still got half a dozen videos that I haven't filmed. Or haven't edited yet. I've just sort of been trying to clean up the channels now that I've got the different subject topic ones, and so I think I talked about it last week as well, didn't I? Haven't really progressed far on that yet. So there's lots of game reviews for me to do, about a dozen different PlayStation games for Aussie Games and Wii games as well, and then I've got a dozen gadgets that I haven't reviewed yet. So
nice.
Yeah.
Any questions from Jason or Aaron to Tim?
I asked all my questions before we got recorded. I just wanted to check it all out. So I've been looking at that just as we've been chatting here, and I can tell all the listeners there is heaps of videos there, heaps of them, and heaps
there's
of
over
good stuff.
400. Yeah, and I started before even Ozgui Show channel on an original channel was called Timmy 198010. It was a really silly nickname, and I decided to delete it after 7 months. But I'd already created 150 videos on that channel, which I never remade them all, and I never re-uploaded them all to the these new channels. So I've still got some really old classic videos from about 2 years ago, which I might put up as well. And that's what some of the last couple of videos I've put on Osgooey Show are old classic reruns from when I first started before I was a partner 2 years ago.
Nice.
So.
One thing about Aaron, there's one thing about Aaron that he actually promotes people's stuff, which is pretty cool, and that's really good of him to do.
Oh yeah, well, everyone's welcome to share my stuff, of course, and embed the videos on your blog and your site. It's great. I love it when people do that.
Cool. Put Tim everywhere.
Yeah, put Tim everywhere on Facebook and Twitter and the blog and YouTube and that sort of thing. And
we should all share each other's work. I share
spread the
your
love
stuff too.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I agree that with you, Tim. Yeah, people should share and in return and should promote everyone.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And all right. Well, let's talk to Carlos. Carlos,
welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Welcome.
Good. How's it over there in the US? You're in Silicon Valley?
Yes, we are. We're in Palo Alto, California, right in the heart of Silicon Valley.
Well, hola.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
I always like to tell people, we are about 1.5 miles north of Google.
Cool.
Oh, wow, cool.
Yeah, or the Googleplex.
You see them on the way to work?
No, they're a little bit further south than when I drive.
Have you been there?
Yeah, it's actually a pretty nice campus.
Awesome. Do they do tours?
It's really big. But a good friend of mine who once used to work at SGI, because Google is the old SGI building.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yep.
And I went to have lunch there with a friend of mine, and he said to me, he goes, people get all excited about this campus, but you have to remember at one point this used to be SGI, so who knows what's going to be here in about 10 years from now.
A lot of history.
Yeah. It could be another, it could be another one. You never know. Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about your history leading up to the creation of Ansca Mobile? You started with Adobe, or Macromedia, was it when you started?
So actually, it's really a funny story. I actually was at Adobe. I had been working on the Illustrator team for a while, and then somewhere around 2004. This whole, I don't want to say mobile revolution started to happen, but there was a lot of buzz about, PDAs. That's what they were known back then. And I started dabbling with it, for a little bit here and there. And then late 2004, Macromedia gave me a call and they said, hey, we got some stuff that, we think might interest you. I went to talk to Macromedia, and they showed me what was then Flashlight 1.0 running on Nokia devices. At that point in 2004, Nokia was the king of smartphones and the king of feature phones. I think they had like 80% market penetration. Don't quote those numbers on me, but they were huge back then in 2004. I mean, everything was Series 60, Series 40s, world domination. They had everything. So they showed me Flashlight running on a Series 60 device. This is 2004, not known as the smartphone as it is known today. And I liked what I saw, and then I began working for Macromedia. And then 2 months later, after I started working on Macromedia, let me back up just a little bit. When I started working on Macromedia, I contacted one of my former colleagues that used to work with me in Illustrator that was at Apple. He was working at the Final Cut group at Apple, and I gave him a call and I said, hey, you have to come and check this out because this is the future.
Was that Walter?
That was Walter. So I recruited Walter out of Apple to come join Macromedia. And I think I had been at Macromedia for 2 months. Walter has been there for about a week or 2 weeks, if I remember correctly. And then on April 1st of 2005, I get a phone call like around 3 o'clock in the morning that Adobe just announced the acquisition of Macromedia. So I was like, oh, I guess I'm going back to the mothership.
You can't escape.
Yeah. So then Walter and I used to joke around that the reason they bought Macromedia was because if they would have bought Macromedia and Apple, it would have cost Adobe a lot of money. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, so Walter was the architect for Flashlight, and I was the engineering manager overseeing Flash authoring. At one point, I did all the Flash integration with Flash authoring tool. And then I had the opportunity, I presented what is now known as the Adobe mobile authoring tool for an entire Creative Suite. Wow. That was actually part of my initiative at Adobe. And then I had a choice to run that department or run Flashlight. And, you know, my history with Adobe had been I had worked on authoring tools. I had worked on Illustrator and PageMill and, you know, dabble with a little bit of Photoshop, but After Effects, you know, just, you know, not working for them, but, you know, it's just, you know, the Creative Suite. And I was like, I did that once before I left Adobe because I wanted to work on on real Flashlight. So I spearheaded the Flashlight 3.0 team. And at that point, Walter became the lead architect. And then we got Flashlight to where it became as a product inside of Adobe about this point when we, you know, when the acquisition happened and everything else. So if we fast forward to 2007, Apple introduces the iPhone, and I was just blown away by, you know, what it was then. A smartphone. I mean, Nokia had world domination, and I don't want to sound like I'm bashing Nokia because lately, you know, Nokia has been in the gutter with everything that's happening. But yeah, you know, this is 2007. Apple had just come out. Nobody knew whether the iPhone was going to take off or not. You know, it certainly was an Apple product, so it had the cachet of being an Apple product. But as a developer, that we had been working on tools to make things work on Flashlight, the developers that Nokia provided at that point were completely prehistoric compared to what the new iPhone provided in terms of the SDK and this, you know, entire iTunes stores that you can buy applications. It was a real awakening for the entire industry. And I saw this and I went like, Apple got it right.
Yeah.
Right. They got it right. I mean, it was mind-blowing that after a certain period of time within the organization of mobile business, you know, I think everybody was wearing an iPhone, you know, yet everybody, you know, was still articulating how Nokia had world domination. And then once we shipped Flashlight 3.0, I decided, you know what, I'm just going to go venture out and do my thing. And I did, and I went out and started doing my thing, you know, consulting here and there because I really wanted to think about what I wanted to do. And then the iPhone was just going crazy because then, you know, they introduced the SDK, they introduced the notion of apps. I mean, they had talked about it, right? You know, so it wasn't like foreign, but now, you know, you know, I had the time to actually spend time on it and actually see what it was and compare that to all the different tools that I've been working for the last 3 years, 2004, 5, 6, 7, when I left. So it was quite a rude awakening for the mobile industry as I saw it. And then, you know, having worked with Walter for so long, you know, both at Adobe and Macromedia and then Adobe again, one day we went to have coffee. And I said to him, I said, hey, you know, I'm going to go start doing apps. You know, I think there's a lucrative business in here to actually do apps because the world is going to, you know, go mobile. I mean, that was the reason why I had left Adobe in 2004 because I saw this shift happening towards, you know, small devices. And Walter said to me, you know, funny enough, I am going to go do apps and everything else like that. And we had worked with each other for such a long time, and it just felt right to go in by ourselves and started to, you know, think about what kind of apps we wanted to do. And we just started moving ahead, and this is now 2008. And we used to meet either at my apartment or at his house and just continually talk about the different apps that we wanted to make. But one thing that was really interesting was that we knew coming from this world of world domination by Nokia and all the other different phones out there, and iPhone being so nascent, we knew that we had to write that anything that we needed to do had to have the capability to go cross-platform because things really changed really quick in the mobile spectrum, right? We knew that from history. So we started looking at all the different technologies that we wanted to use, and we looked at, ActionScript, the open source ActionScript, should we put it in there? JavaScript, PHP, should we do it in Perl, Ruby? And we just kept going on and on. And we lucky, for us, we had been exposed to a lot of this, so it wasn't foreign to us. So it was really easy to make decisions based on the technology. But one thing that we wanted to do that was very clear for both of us is we didn't want to bring, and this is something that happened with Flashlight. Flash itself has been in existence for over 10 years, right? It started out in 1996. So there was a lot of bad code out there and a lot of bloated code. And when you go mobile, and this is 2007, I know it sounds like it was just yesterday, but you have to realize in 2007, memory was still scarce on mobile devices. People were still charging you, per minute, and transfer data, not unlike today, which everything is unlimited, hard drive space and all this other stuff, and it's screen sizes.
Yeah,
different world.
But different world, and what it is even today from 5 years. But one thing that we knew is that we wanted to have a language that didn't bring a lot of legacy code that could, potentially make your application, slow down. We saw that with Flashlight, with the content that people created, because they were trying to adapt ActionScript from the web to a mobile device that only had 200 pixels by 200 pixels. And we're like, you can't do that. And so it turns out that
Flash wasn't going to be on the iPhone at all, so that would have been a bit of a cut down there.
Yeah. So we kind of knew that because it was really heavy and everything else. So it just so happened that we're really good friends with the, and this is, I always like to mention this because he was a big influence in Walter mainly and myself in deciding on Lua. It turns out the Photoshop Lightroom was written in Lua. And we were good friends with the Photoshop architect. And Walter said, Mark uses his Lua for Photoshop Lightroom. So we looked at Lua as the language to use for Corona, which back then it wasn't even called Corona. It was called, we didn't have a name for it yet. And then it was kind of like, we both said, well, if Lua is good enough for Mark Hamburg, which is one of the most architects at Adobe, and he is basically Mr. Photoshop, it will be pretty good for us. And that was pretty much what triggered us to use Lua. And then we started basically pounding away. It was mainly, so Walter was mainly doing all the pounding away, and I was trying to, figure out the business side and who we can talk to show demos, prototypes, is this something that people would like? And then we were thinking about our own different applications that we wanted to build. And before you know it, one thing leads to another, and we're pitching to a VC, a venture capital. And there's a history in there that I'm obviously, cutting because of time constraints and everything like that. But we pitched the idea to a VC. And then eventually we got funded, and it was Walter and myself who started basically in my apartment. Then we moved over to his house because there was 4 of us, and now we have an office with about 15 people.
Wow. Was it a problem for you at the start with Apple saying no other languages except for Objective-C?
Well, that's a really good question, and I never felt threatened by it because we knew that a lot of the games that were being developed for the iPhone were using Lua also as a language, as a scripting language. Architecturally, we were not different than Tapulous, than Angry Birds, or whatever it was back then. When they came out with this, and there were Diner Dash. Well, I think this was one of them that they used Lua as their scripting framework. So they were not banning those big name companies like EA or Tapulous or all this. So as a matter of fact, the day that Steve Jobs made that announcement, he was showing off Tapulous on the screen, and they had a different version of the scripting language, if I remember correctly. Who knows? Now they probably changed. Yeah. But we never felt threatened, and we forged ahead. We continue because at the end of the day, even though it is Lua that you write your script in, the end result, it is an actual bona fide Objective-C application. And even though you do talk to our server in order to get back your an executable, a binary. Thank you. it really you really have to have Xcode installed on your machine, because then all the signing and everything, PNG, everything else that you will normally do using Xcode, it goes through underneath the hood. You never see that happen. So architecturally, we're not different than an Objective-C created executable, right? Except that we have these Lua bindings in there, and we never felt like we were in any danger. Certainly there was a lot of talk with Flash. It was good for us because it put us a little bit in the map.
Yeah.
A couple of magazines came out and talked to us about, the significance of, former Adobe employees who are using a different type of technology, and they're not being punished yet. Adobe was being punished for that. And yeah. It was a quite an interesting period of time there, because everybody felt like, what's going to happen. And, it all boiled down to, Steve doing his thing, and you have to move on. You have to, and that's the thing. Again, it is this world where you have to adapt really quick, right?
Yeah.
We never looked at it like, oh my God, this is the end of the world. And even our investors, and everybody else that they put so much money into the company when we started, it's like, oh my God, it's the end of the world. It was like, okay, what do we do in order to fix this if we had to? Yeah, that's the way we looked at it inside of the company. And I think that Walter wrote a paper or a blog about, Lua being the lingua franca of mobile development. And I came out, bashing Bolt and Cavalier and said, we have no problems whatsoever with Apple.
Do you think using the fact that you chose Lua makes it easier for beginner developers as well? I've seen a lot of people on the forums saying that they've had a look at Objective-C and some other systems, and it's just too complicated for them. But with Lua, they can understand it and get a lot faster.
Yeah, actually, that has been, when we started out, that was our main goal. Our goal was basically to have anybody in the world to use it so they can, have access to be part of this mobile tsunami that is happening.
Even 14-year-olds.
Yeah, and... people at first, investors and, friends of friends and people that we talked to, they're like, no, what are you talking about? But we kind of knew deep down inside that this is what we believe, that, this is, you can do Objective-C, which is great, or you can do any other language you want, which is great. But, this is 2000, and, we're like 2010. Ideally, you should be able to, write at a high-level language, and then, somebody else can take care of all the underlying pinnings for you. And what we did was we also learned from a lot of the mistakes that, our previous experience with Flash and ActionScript had. And we even simplified that to the point where, even make it easier than ActionScript. Because ActionScript 2.0 was easy. ActionScript 3.0 looks very much like Java, and all of a sudden it just scared a lot of programmers, a lot of even old-time Flash developers away, right?
Yeah, it's a lot more complicated.
Yeah. So we have been passionate about this tool being for anybody that wants to basically create, for mobile from the very beginning. And I think when this 14-year-old kid, Robert Ney, topped the charts and was number one, nobody has ever accused us of, hype. It's
even
real.
beating Angry Birds.
Yeah. And it's been a really good experience with him too, because I think last week or 2 weeks ago when I was in Miami, I actually gave a talk on mobile and entrepreneurship. And I said to the crowd, I said, if a 14-year-old can actually do it, you guys shouldn't even be listening to me. You should actually be coding and getting an app out there.
I think that's what attracted me to it as well, just looking at the structure of it, especially the main clincher is on the front page. It's probably still there, the images of doing coding an image to display on OpenGL on the iPhone in Objective-C, and the comparison using Corona is like one line. Yeah. I think that's how it should be. I've been waiting for something like that for a long time.
Yeah, and I get a lot of emails. I tried really hard to answer every mail that I can. Sometimes, it's hard, but I try to do, and especially when I was traveling. But I get a lot of emails from people telling me it's like I had spent 6 months, on Objective-C and Java, Android, and I took a look at your product, and it reads like English. It's really easy to understand, and also we borrowed a lot from the model of Steve. That Steve tells you what you need. that would be Steve Jobs, of course, from Apple.
Yep.
Again, we get a lot of questions asked, like, will you have low-level access to Objective-C? Can I implement my own shaders? Can I implement my own OpenGL routine? And that's not the intended audience for us. If you really want to have access to Objective-C, go right in Objective-C.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Yeah, for us, there's some games out there that are being developed that are just mind-blowing. And companies, at first you have this 14-year-old kid, and then you worry because I say that, but people can get this notion that Corona is just for kids, right?
Yeah.
And even though the whole hoopla and the news of surrounding Robert's success put us in the map, at the same time we were worried that I'm going to have my kid learn it, I'm not going to deal with it, it's a kid's language. But then a couple of weeks ago, I think Doritos is using Corona for the app for both Android and iPhone or iOS basically. And we've seen some games that are produced that are just like super high quality. So if people can actually produce this type of games that are very immersive and also very that you get engaged with them and play, and we only have 500 API calls, it's like wow.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine somebody that has 10,000 API calls. What do they do with so many APIs at one point? It's like
too many to remember, and
yeah. So I think sometimes less is more because it gets you to be creative, right? And and we do listen to people, when they ask requests and all this other stuff, but they have to understand that, when there's this other side of the, I always say there's another side to the coin, right? And for me and Walter, looking at it from the inside to the outside, it's a symphony of apps that come our way, and we still get blown away by that was done with Corona. Really? No, yeah. No way. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of new features always being added to Corona. As a subscriber, I see the daily builds and people put in requests for new things. And as you said, there's new stuff that surprises, really big ones coming up that we don't know about yet. But looking forward to, and a really big launch for you on August the 2nd.
Yeah, we're really excited about that. I think a lot of people are going to be really surprised with what we have. We talked about monetization in the last couple of months. We've been talking about that. We actually got sidetracked a little bit. We were delayed because of all the Android intricacies. We had to make the decision to drop Android 2.1 and below devices below that, and with ARM7. That was a painful decision because there were a lot of customers that and developers that had been targeting other devices, and but the market is shifting and you have to keep up with the market. But I think this release people are going to really enjoy what we have in store. So there's a lot of monetization, social aspect to it, and a couple of others, one or two big feature key items that we haven't released. I have been tweeting the hell out of hints left and right, but nobody seemed to have gotten it.
Giving us some hints and stuff, but I've seen that a lot. Okay. And now you've just been tweeting. I see that you're nearly up to 20 million downloads for Ansca Corona apps.
Yeah. Surprising, we went from 18 to 19, and then this afternoon I got a note that one of our developers basically sent me an email, and it says, I just broke, I won't say it, but he just broke a number. So I was like, I summed it up in our spreadsheet, and we are like about 100,000 away from 20 million or something like that.
That's quite an achievement.
Yeah. And that also, and what's really funny is we haven't even tallied up a couple of other apps that have been number one on the iOS, because the developers just, they don't feel confident sharing the data with us, which is okay. But we could make a wild ass guess and put that in there, but we want to take true to the story right now. So it's exciting when you see those numbers. And we had the number one app on iTunes, which basically was Robert's Bubble Ball.
Yep.
And then we have the number one app on games right now through Blast Monkeys. And we are dominating the Nuke App Store. We have 7 out of the top 20 apps are Corona.
Cool.
And on the Amazon store, I believe that we have had the top 5 app, which is Grizzly Manor from Fire Maple Games. So that actually for us is a testament of the tool itself and what people can do with it. It is now proven itself that it can be used and knock down big studios.
Exactly. Something some people probably don't realize that we haven't mentioned yet is clearly is that the Ansca Mobile's Corona, you just program it once and you can almost just press a button to output to iPhone and iPad compatibility in a universal build, or you can do separate apps and just another press and you can output to an Android compatible binary, which can be uploaded into the Android store, so you don't have to recode it for all the different platforms.
Yep. Yeah, so we're pretty proud about that. And then we added all these imaging scaling factors to it, so that you can actually use the same image and you can do kind of like scaling like you would normally do on TV for letterbox, full screen, and it will adjust automatically for you.
And also you can put in 2 different images with a slightly different prefix, and it'll automatically choose whichever one for the iPad or the iPhone, whichever platform you're on.
Yep.
I think that's really good for universal builds.
Yeah, that actually has been, I get a lot of emails from people saying this is like even easier than reading the Apple documentation to do something like that. Or
you don't even really have to think about it. You just say display an image and it automatically picks the right one.
Yep.
It's brilliant.
Yeah. Hey, Carlos, I just wanted to ask, how would you explain the similarities between ActionScript and Lua? For a Flash developer who's invested all of their time into learning ActionScript and developing that, and obviously realizing that Flash is no good for them anymore.
Oh, well, Flash is not good. I think I covered that topic pretty much. But the similarities is that because we come from an ActionScript world, we did a lot of things, very ActionScripty like. You register events, you unregister events. There's a runtime event listener.
Yeah.
We don't have we don't do frame animation like ActionScript does or Flash does actually.
Yep.
It's all time based, and we have a cheat sheet on our website that tells you how to map from one language to another language, and it's very simple to do. As a matter of fact, the Doritos application, they do have a Flash version of it for social networking on their Facebook. But the mobile application is done in Corona for both Android and iPhone. So it was really easy for them to adapt, because there are some tools being developed by our third-party members. One of them is called Sprite Lock, that takes your Swift files and takes out all the assets and converts sprite sheets out of them. So then you can just bring it into Corona, run it through a sprite sheet, and then you have animations right there based on your Flash content. Yeah, and then the for loops are very easy. Same thing when you do like a network request, you set up a callback, and then as the callback happens or finishes, it notifies you that it's done, and then you can get access to your file or whatever you downloaded. And it's very ActionScript like in that sense. So it's very easy to basically convert one to another. We had a story, and this is actually a funny story. We had a story where one of the developers that we had an actual Flash game on. He actually had a game on he wrote on Flash for Verizon. We gave him Corona. This is back when we were still in the early stages, where we needed to have apps on the App Store to show that we actually were real. And he's never done Lua. He's never seen our. We didn't even have a manual at this point. It was barely like 5 pages of, use at your own risk.
Yeah.
And this is the funny part. He actually wrote the product on his honeymoon. And he said, he said it took me 2 days to convert from ActionScript to Corona. But it took me longer to redo the ad sets because the ad sets he had done for the Verizon screens were like 192 pixel by 192 pixel, right?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, going to 320 by 480. So he said it took me longer to actually develop the images. But he actually wrote the game in 2 days without any manuals while in his honeymoon. And we were like, hey, dude, we're not guilty if your wife decides to leave you, okay? Don't blame us,
Yeah, that's amazing. Because that's the hardest thing with languages. It's not just the syntax that you have to learn, but it's really the habits that you get from the SDKs that you work with and that sort of stuff. And having to relearn that is really the most heartbreaking thing. And there's just so many Flash developers out there who are having this problem right now, is that they know that mobile is the next frontier, and they really need, they want to be able to develop the same way, use the same habits. I think syntax is probably only sort of 20% of the relearning process. So like from just listening to you talk, it really sounds like Corona SDK is basically the best way that all these Flash developers out there can really reskill quite quickly and stay relevant to the development scene.
Yeah, I mean, we keep, and that's the thing is like we keep hearing that over and over again. We talk to so many developers that come up and they're like, oh, I was a Flash developer and I heard about your product, and it's like it took me like days to convert it from Flash, and the performance outperforms it because we are completely about OpenGL hardware accelerated, and we can do so many things, and not just, and actually you bring up a good point, because the other thing is it's not just about the language itself, where it's very similar, so it's very easy for them to actually pick up Corona, but then all the features that we have that Flash doesn't have, in-app purchases, Open Find, Game Center, and a whole bunch of other features that we have that you can't really do with Flash right now. So if you really wanted to do a Flash game and you wanted to have in-app purchases, you can purchase levels. You can't do that in Flash. You have to use Corona.
Yeah.
So
all right.
Those are sorry.
So Carlos, I just want to ask you, mate. How many applications have you made, mate? And are they free or paid?
So that's actually. We don't really know the number of applications that we have done. We have a wild estimate of a number of applications that have been created this year.
Okay.
And it's about 6,000 of them.
Wow.
Yeah. And then we have a rough estimate, but like I said, we don't request this data from a user. Once the app it's on the App Store or the Android Store, we lose. We don't get anything back. We don't. Our servers don't get anything like that. But just by the sheer number of people that send us, and we put it up on the showcase. So the showcase that we have is representative of all the different apps. So I would say about a good 50-50 mix.
Will the Tech Webcast be on the showcase, Carlos?
Yeah, if you send me the app, we'll put it up there.
It better be.
Making it, yes.
It better be, because that's one great application that needs to be on there, mate.
Yeah, I know the guy who actually, co-founded the company, so I can actually put in a will work for you.
Oh, really? Oh, sweet, man. Good stuff,
you, right?
Good stuff.
Yeah, I can fast track it.
Cool, man. Cool. And what's the progress on the application, Jason, at the moment, mate? What's the go with that?
Sorry, the progress?
Progress.
We've just got a couple of things to fix up, and then it'll be released.
Cool, man.
Not very long to go.
Carlos, have you seen the application, mate? Have you seen it?
No, I haven't. So somebody's going to send me some pictures or some video of it. So
we would love to get your input on it, mate. Get some ideas of what you think of it.
Yeah, send it over, and then I'll have I look at it, and then I'll have Hedel, who is the head of PR, take a look at it, and then if you submit it to the showcase, you never know, you might be app of the week or app of the month.
Oh, cool, wicked. Sounds good.
I think one of the good things about Corona that where it beats some of the other programming system and SDKs is that once you've paid for your yearly subscription, Ansca doesn't ask for any royalties or commission after that. All the money that you get from the app stores go straight to the developer, don't they?
Yeah, that's fantastic.
That's good.
Yeah, we don't do that. We actually debated that over and over and over again. Now, and at the end of the day, it's like, wait, somebody can actually use Xcode, and it's nonsense to ask for that. But one thing that while you guys were we were talking about the showcase and now about royalties, of course, is one thing that we have learned from talking to a lot of our developers, and we do listen to them. Sometimes they think they don't, but we do. Or, something ends up on the spam folder. But anyways, one of the things that we have learned from talking to a lot of our developers and a lot of members of our community and some of our, super closest dev partners who are like under the NDA of death, so they can't say anything. The one thing that we have learned is that what's really important for you developers is not sometimes the feature itself. It's actually getting visibility of the application. It's very easy to navigate. It's very easy to submit your application on the iTunes or the Android marketplace, but then how do you compete against 300,000 other apps, or maybe an app that actually does the same thing that you're doing? I have been very active with members of the community and in selecting apps and helping them get, the PR, the recognition, get it into, review sites and work closely with them as to understanding what went right and what went wrong. One thing that we learned is we have never heard anybody tell us that my application didn't make it or didn't, have a 5-star review because it didn't have this feature. We never heard that. It's the other way around. It's like people like it, but how can I get more exposure? So you will in the near future see a lot of changes in our operations in order to get you guys, the needed exposure in order to be able to stand above the crowd. Right?
Yeah.
And,
wow. All right, we'll have to finish up the podcast, Carlos, mate. It's gone over 40 minutes, and we sort of have a time limit on the podcast each week because we get uploaded and stuff and that sort of thing. Okay. Jason, any tech news, mate, before we go?
No, I think we've had quite a good, interesting interview with Carlos, so I think they'll do. I'll just also say that something else I should mention is the premium support that people can purchase if they need extra help in getting their application done faster or have any extra questions they can ask.
Sure.
Yeah,
Cool, mate. Cool. Yeah. All right, Carlos, where can they find you on Twitter, mate?
They can find me at Carlos Icaza.
All right. And Facebook? You're on Facebook?
Yes, I am at CYCaza.
Okay, cool.
CYCAZA.
All right. And
Tim?
They
also have a at Ansca Twitter account, and that's also on Facebook,
on the Facebook as well.
Cool. Yeah. All right. And what about you, Tim? Where can they find you?
I'm sorry, what was that?
I was just talking to Tim. Is Tim still there?
Oh, yeah.
Tim, where can they find you, Tim?
My new Twitter account is OSY Tech, Aussie Tech.
Were you asleep? And Warlock, where can they find you, mate?
WAULOK Warlock on Twitter and bluebilby.com.
Sick, dude. And Aaron, where can they find you, mate? As always, Oz Tech News and that sort of good stuff.
Yeah, Oz Tech News on Twitter, OZ Tech News.
Wicked. And me, Brad, Oz Tech Webcast, Tech Luster, Facebook, same name. And thanks, Carlos, for being on, mate. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Carlos.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Carlos,
I appreciate it.
That's cool, mate.
I just wanted to say really...
Yeah.
I just want to say really quickly, it's really funny how you said that, you worked at Adobe and left and then ended up coming back by working for Macromedia, because it just sounds like to me, this business is the sort of thing that Adobe would snap up in a second. I reckon you're going to go for the trifecta with this thing. I reckon you'll wind up at Adobe again.
Don't wish that on him.
No. All right, thanks, guys, for being on.
Yeah,
Hi, Glenn from Aussie Tech Heads. Join Will, Eric and myself as we bring you the latest, most up-to-date, important tech news that affects you from Australia and the world. Weekly podcast available each Friday through iTunes. Watch the live stream recording of the show at live.thesecrethub.com each Thursday night, 7:30pm or GMT plus 10. Call in live via Skype or chat in our lounge. However you get us, just make sure you do. Listen or visit our website for more information, www.aussietechheads.com.au. Aussie Tech Heads, Australia's longest running tech news podcast.
This is Tech Webcast.
Computers.
Technology.
Gadgets.
And other geeky stuff.
It's on iTunes. It's awesome.
And it's from the future. Follow us at twitter.com/techwebcast
And
on Facebook and check techwebcast.info for info. Tech Webcast.
Turn on, tune in, drop on.